Back to the United stand. It is Manchester United 1, Chelsea 1 at Old Trafford as Manchester United managed to rescue 1 point, or actually lose 3 points, because once again we conceded a lead. What do you make of that performance? What do you make of the draw? Toothless in attack is a word that we've been using before we've gone live here. Bruno Fernandes with some very damning quotes coming out from his interview after the Manchester United game, and ex-players such as Roy Keane and Gary Neville having their say as well. Where do Manchester United need to improve? How much of an uphill battle is it for Ruben Amorim, and what can we expect for the rest of the season? Kev, Mordzs and Ricky, welcome very much to the show.
Good evening.
Thank you.
You were on the build-up show, Kev, so I'll start with you. See you rocking a new haircut.
You having it?
Yeah.
Look at this.
He's got a new haircut and he's got his
I went for like the Ruud van Nistelrooy kind of haircut. I thought I'll in honour of the great man himself.
Well, I'll tell you what, the haircut was better than the performance, in my opinion. Well, especially in the attacking third. The rest of the team, I thought, did all right. But for you, Manchester United today, what did you make of the performance?
Performance, I don't know. Football's a game of 2 halves. I thought first half was kind of all right. Second half, the bugbearer for me is getting that goal, getting in front and not being able to defend it, you know, for, what do we not even see, kind of 5 minutes?
I don't know.
You think, oh my God, come on, man. I don't know, it leaves me with more probably questions than answers. Again, this team, I know Roy Keane's come out after it and said that these players probably believe that they're better than what they are, and I don't think there's probably ever a truer thing said about these group of players at this moment in time. The new manager has got a heck of a task. You know, if he was watching this evening, I'm sure he was. He's probably thinking, by God, what am I walking into here? But it's a huge job. It won't happen over sort of night. So we have to see where this new era sort of takes us. Yeah,
I mean, I'm really frustrated. I'm going to be honest. I think there's been a lot of things today that I've been thinking for a long time, but they've been like nails in the coffin of these little thoughts I've had. And I thought, you know what I've been thinking over the last few weeks, it is actually right. And I've got my opinions on where I think the problems are on this Manchester United side. But Ricky, Bruno Fernandes has come out with a very, very, very interesting quote.
Go on.
After the game, he said, "It is easier to get rid of a manager than 15 players. I spoke to Ten Hag and I apologised to him. I was disappointed he was gone and I tried to help him. I wasn't scoring goals, we're not scoring goals, and I feel responsible. I normally score a lot of goals, but I always gave 100%. Erik Ten Hag is aware of that. So Bruno Fernandes basically saying what a lot of United fans were thinking in terms of the fact that, you know, it's not just the manager, it's the players. And we were speaking just before the forum how people think things are magically going to change under Ruben Amorim. He's got a big job on his hands, hasn't he?
Massive job on his hands. I think I said on the show the other week, we've got plenty of decent defenders, we've got quite a few decent midfield players, and as you go further through the team, it gets a little bit weaker step by step. We've got loads of decent defenders, we've got enough decent midfield players, and we've got hardly any decent attackers. We're really, really poor in the final third, virtually all of them. I like Ahmad. He's about the only one, I think, that I could really nail my hats on and say could have a good career. I don't think any of the other... I mean, when I say a good career, I mean, Bruno's already 30 and he's an attacking player, by the way. For me, he's not good enough. But he's about 30 already, isn't he? Yeah. So he's already had he's almost already had his career. And to have a career in football, by the way, some people could easily say, well, he's had a fantastic career. He's played for Man United for 6 years and earned multi-millions. So that is a career of a type. But it's not a career that a Man United player used to want to have years ago when we wanted to not just challenge for league titles and European Cups, but actually win them. We haven't got any players that are anywhere near that level, especially in the attacking third.
It's a worry, isn't it?
Everyone, you're already getting the Lee Mack comments.
Oh, do one.
Yeah, cool.
Listen, I feel bad enough anyway. I don't need this tonight, please. Don't add, what is it, injury to insult or insult to injury? No.
It's all right, Kev, don't worry. I mean, I wouldn't want anyone to get a picture of me.
Don't even provoke him now. We'll get a big picture behind, like last time you did me right over.
I mean, it'd cheer me up, to be honest.
Yeah, it probably would cheer me up as well, actually.
Mordzs, a lot of people are going to say, you know, still got a point out of it. Chelsea are a decent side. You know, the first 2 Big Six teams to come to Manchester United so far this season, in Liverpool and Tottenham, we got thrashed 3-0 and, you know, points better than nothing. It was a wonder strike that we ended up conceding to that you can't really do much about. But for me, when you look at the areas that we need to improve, it does feel like a loss. Do you think, in terms of positions we had in the game to put goals in the back of the net?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it felt like a loss. It definitely is a bit harsh, just because I'd say when Ten Hag left, I would have looked at this game and thought, yeah, we're losing. Like, I would, at that point, in fact, from the Tottenham game, I probably would have looked at this game and thought, yeah, we're going to get beat. There's no way we're beating Chelsea. But I think now that Ten Hag's obviously gone, and then we've seen Ruud come in, and then the energy kind of changed, and you kind of thought, you know what, we can maybe get something out of this game, maybe get a win, hopefully. And then, like you said, during the game, to be fair, for that first half, I thought, you know what, there isn't really much between the two sides. Even though before the game, everyone probably thought Chelsea had a far better team. That first half, I thought there isn't that much between, United and Chelsea. So for us to end up coming out of that game with 1 point, especially considering the good, I think we had like 4 big chances or something like that, and we've still somehow missed the most big chances in the Premier League.
That's why I said it feels like a loss, because honestly, this is one of the things I've been thinking, and I'm just going to say it, like, genuinely. I think the biggest issue in Manchester United's side is the front line. I think it's our biggest issue. I feel like it's operating at like 25% capacity. A lot of people talk about the midfield, a lot of people talk about the defence. I think the defence has been fine for a while now. I think where we saw, a poor performance from the defence was Porto away. I thought, Martinez and De Ligt had a bit of trouble that game. But apart from that, I thought De Ligt and our defence have been pretty solid. I thought today, Chelsea didn't get in and around the box too much. Like, they didn't get many clear-cut chances. Thought the midfield did decent. I don't think it was amazing. I think it did decent. Got a bit overrun in the first half, but second half, I feel like we matched up quite well. The front three, I mean, there's some positives, but overall, and even when you look to the bench, like, it's just not good enough. Like, I could name so many teams in the Premier League, teams that you would never even want to put in the same sentence as Manchester United, that have better options as a front three than us, that are operating at a better level. That's I think what the issue is, and people expecting Ruben Amorim to come in and everything's going to change and we're going to magically start scoring goals. I really hope so, and I think people need to give him time, and I think people need to give him patience, because obviously Ricky, he doesn't have a transfer window right now. He's got to wait until January, but it's hard to coach good decisions into players.
Yeah, the decision-making lets them down left, right and centre, to be honest. It wasn't just decision-making today. The Garnacho effort that Bruno more or less put on. I mean, there was a couple of players between him and the goal, but still, he's got to make a better effort at it than that. It was shocking, wasn't it? Just
for a professional footballer.
Right into the goalkeeper's arms. But yeah, decision-making generally just isn't good enough from virtually all the attackers. I'm not sure I'd put Hojlund in that category, because he doesn't get that much of the ball, so there's not that many decisions to make. He's just battling for the ball, and he battled his socks off today. He was against good players, and
won some clever fouls high up the pitch, ball into him, spinning off. But again, it comes down to service, doesn't it? And
he needs service.
And our wingers, or so-called wingers, are just not productive and do not make the right decisions. And I've said it so many times. The key play. What is that picture, man? What? Oh God, honestly.
Just needs to get a blue jacket on him.
Do you know what? Honestly, I take time out to come and do this fan forum. And the humiliation.
Right.
It's a pure insult.
The haircut though is very similar.
The haircut is very similar.
You know what? I went to the barbers and I said, "Give me a Lee Mack haircut." I didn't even know he had hair like that. It's a coincidence.
On about decision making. In the second half, Garnacho had the ball on the corner of the box, and Mazraoui did a long bursting run past him, and they've got to do this on the training ground time and time again. You need to wait. You need to have that little bit of patience, and as he obviously you need him to be onside, but you also need him to be almost offside, because if he's almost offside, you can get the ball in and he's got space then. You know what I mean? There's no point playing it too early. If he's 4 or 5 yards onside, the defenders are going to get it. So it's it's not dead easy to time it bang on, but you need to pass it just as he's about to become offside, and then he's in behind then. But to not even attempt that pass, which Garnacho did, and he's cut inside, and I said this on the build-up show, he's thinking about trying to get a shot in. Exactly. In that situation, you've got to be thinking about trying to get your fullback in behind. That's what City would be doing. It's what Liverpool would be doing.
It's just pure selfish.
I don't think Ruben Amorim's going to stand for it, because when you look
I hope he doesn't.
When you look at the way he plays, he demands a lot from his wide players, and what he demands is crosses into the box to feed the striker. And we are starving our strikers. We are not feeding them. I mean, I think a big issue is, I think Roy Keane said it, that I think a lot of the players think they're better than what they are. Maybe, you know, that comes down to, you know, some of the decision making in the final third. You think, oh, you know, I'm going to go and get a shot off. You've got to think about the team. You've got to think about working as a team. But also, what I think is a big problem is I think the front line's unbalanced. You've got Rashford and Garnacho on both wings, right? They're both the same sort of player. You need someone with that technicality. You need someone who's going to keep the ball. You need someone who's going to get hold of the ball, look up, look for that pass inside to start creating them triangles. We don't have that. So you can't even create many chances when both wingers, their first thought is, you know, running in behind, you know, running at the defenders. And to be fair, like, I think putting Rashford into the same bracket as Garnacho today is a bit unfair. I thought he had a better game than Garnacho. Both weren't good enough, to be honest, in my opinion. But I think the front line is unbalanced. And Mords, do you think that shows like Ruud kind of is thinking along the same lines as Ten Hag? Because it felt a little bit like, you know, a Ten Hag sort of performance today. And you would expect that because he was his assistant manager.
Yeah, I mean, when he's got the lineup, everyone was kind of like, oh, you know, he's same as Ten Hag, pretty much the same lineup. But then when you look at the bench, it's kind of like, well, who else are you going to pick? There's only really Ahmad that you can really say would make the team. You know, nobody else would really make the team. Anyway, so like I said, the real conversation is just, why is Ahmad not playing? And we'll be saying this every single week, why is Ahmad not playing? But even if he doesn't start, I said this before, and I don't really want to talk about Ruud too much anyway, because there's actually no point, because he's not going to be he's not the long-term manager anyway, so there's no point really going in on Ruud and his decision-making. But when Amorim does come in, even if he doesn't want to start Ahmad, if you can clearly see that your two wingers or your two attacking forwards, however you want to play it, are not producing, the output's low, they're not creating chances, make the change. Like, don't be scared to make a change. Why are you waiting to the 70th minute, 80th minute to make the change? Make the change early on, because when Ahmad came on, he was playing well. There was one chance where I think Bruno tried to like run in behind and he's just missed the pass. But I was thinking to myself, Garnacho or Rashford wouldn't even have tried to make that pass. They probably just would have tried to cut in on the right or the left and do something else. But Ahmad was actually looking for that pass, whether it's Bruno running behind, whether it's Zirkzee running behind or Hojlund running behind. He's constantly thinking, how can I facilitate somebody else? And when the shot does come out, or when the opportunity does come to make a shot, he will take it because he can finish it. He's got a good shot on him. So that's really the only thing I can say when it comes to team selection. It's just literally just about Ahmad, in my opinion.
I see one of the main issues is the right-hand side, and you call it a problem, but it's so easily fixed. And Ten Hag stuck to his guns, continued to do that. The right-hand side, if Rashford plays on the right, no effect. If Garnacho plays on the right, there is no effect. And you've seen him swap so many times today. They went left and right, back and forth. But whoever played out on the right wasn't effective. Yeah. There is a solution there, and it's Ahmad. You put Ahmad on the right. It sounds so easy. Like I say, I'm no football expert or whatever, but we've sat here so many times and gone, well, you could solve that issue. And that's the one thing I thought would have been refreshing from Ruud, was the fact that he's got this kind of free hit. You know, he's only in charge now for another couple of games. Just go out, you know, and attack and play Ahmad on that right-hand side. But I think we know Rashford and Garnacho, regardless of form or whatever, they seem to just get picked. And we need to get out of this rut of players being selected on whether it's name, reputation, what it is, and basically get back to basics. That's where I hope Amorim does come in, sees what Ahmad brings to the team, and if he is going to go with this three at the back where you play with wing backs, then you're certainly going to need somebody that can put in a shift, you know, getting forward and getting back. I do feel like you're really onto something there when you say that players are being picked because of what they've done in the past and reputation, rather than what they can provide right now and what they're doing in a game. Because we spoke about it a little bit on the countdown to kick off, you know, how many, you know, goals Rashford has had against the big six, and maybe that's a factor. You know, Garnacho has played probably so many minutes under Ten Hag. I mean, he was Ten Hag's guy, wasn't he? And it's not surprising that Ruud's probably gone down the same route with both of them, because they were a team together. But for me, it's like, you're looking at the performance today of Alejandro Garnacho, and I'm not just going to blame it on him because, you know, he has had good performances in the past, but the fact of the matter is, somebody who is making that many bad decisions and missing that many chances on a regular basis shouldn't be playing 90 minutes of football.
They shouldn't be.
He's just getting rewarded by being put back in the team, and it's like,
and it's not good for him as 20 years old. I think, honestly, I do think there's a lot of talent there, and I do think, you know, he's somebody who's trying over and over again. But I think he needs a coach to come in and teach him discipline massively, and I also think his minutes needs to be managed. He needs to know, you know, you are not like the main guy of the team. Like, we are developing you, and just not have all this pressure put on his back. Like, you are the guy, like 90 minutes every single game, because it's not the first time this season where he's had one of them games where multiple times in a game he's made the wrong decision and it's costing you in front of goal, and people say, well, nobody else is stepping up. They're not. That's absolutely right, and maybe because of how poor everyone else is being, that's why he gets the minutes. But for me, that's what Ruben Amorim has to do. He has to manage players like this that have been, in my opinion, been overplayed and maybe overhyped a little bit. I'm not saying there's not a player there, because there is, but he needs to be managed better, I think.
Yeah, look, I mean, we've been saying it about Garnacho for a minute now, and it's like every time you speak about him, it's like, you can't speak about Garnacho. Like, how can you talk about him? He's our guy, he's da-da-da-da. Like, it's like people make it out like if you say anything critical about Garnacho, you're hating on him because he's what, 19 or 20. Look, if you're grown enough to play every single game in the Premier League, grown enough to get criticism, in my opinion, and that's not to say that, you know, he's a bad player. Like you just said, Beth, he's not a terrible player. And I said on the build-up show, there's definitely potential there. You can see the talent in him. You can clearly see it. Anyone says they can't see talent in Garnacho, you're lying to yourself. You can clearly see the talent, but it's like he feels like the whole world is on his back when he gets the ball. It's like, if I don't run and I don't get a goal, or if I don't do this, something bad's going to happen, or we're going to lose a game. No, that's not how football works. Ricky said it before. That position that he was in where, there was twice actually. The time where I've seen this screenshot on Twitter so many times, where he's running on goal and Ahmad's like just to the right of him, and it's like all he does is pass the ball to Ahmad, or just throw the ball to Ahmad, or I think Hojlund or Zirkzee is like a bit further out in the middle. You can play that ball as well, but he just has to just run on goal, or just to run down the line. It's like, and the second time was the time with Mazraoui, where Mazraoui's made that overlapping run, and he's gone to cut in front of three players. It's just simple, like we said it 100 times, decision making, but why does he feel like everyone has to rely on him? There's other players that can also score, there's other players that can also assist, there's other players that can create stuff in the team, and I get it, but we're not the greatest team in the whole world, but somebody else can do the things that you want to do, and you don't have to always rely on Garnacho to do everything. And maybe that is a case of what you said, because we had to rely on him so much last season, maybe that's why he feels like he still has to be the guy, because we had to start him 30 plus games in a row. It's like you're probably thinking, well, I'm probably the most comfortable player in the attack because I'm the one who started the most games last season. That's probably what's going through his head. But yeah, I feel like if he wants to get anywhere in terms of like to a high level of football, he's gonna have to like humble himself a little bit and understand how to play the game.
Top class players make the right decisions in their moments, and there's an argument you could say, have we got top class players? We haven't, have we? You know,
what do you mean by top class?
Well, I mean,
they might be Premier League
players that are capable of choosing and making the right decisions. How many times did that happen today?
They're not the level of challenging for the Premier League, are they?
No.
Well, look at where we are in the Premier League. I've said before, you know, you can look at so many teams in the Premier League. You can look at their front three, and I'd probably say they're better player for player than what we have. Or if not, they're being very badly coached, which I don't think is the case. I think partly they need probably, you know, a manager that's going to instill discipline, but partly as well, I just think, you know, some of the players just aren't good enough. I mean, Ricky, I'll throw the question to you because this is a question that a lot of people are asking. Do you think, you know, do you think any of the wingers in Manchester United are good enough to be starting week in, week out for a team that is trying to challenge it for the top, even in the top four?
Possibly Ahmad. I'd like to see Ahmad get a lot more game time. But no, none of the others. I mean, look, if you look out, I mentioned Forest the other week when we were on air and people were laughing at me, and you know they've got, you know, who'd have thought Chris Woods? I mean, he's got about 10 goals or something.
Yeah, fire, innit?
But he's aided by the wingers. You know, Gibbs White, and Hudson-Odoi, they're better than our wingers, and they're playing for Forest. What's been going on and all the money? I know we didn't buy Rashford, but all the money we've spent and the wages that they're on. Don't tell me that Gibbs White and Hudson-Odoi are not better. And I think Elanga's better as well, and he's not getting some because I like Elanga. Some people go to me, he's not getting in it. not always. I know he played quite a few games. He's not always in the Forest team. Of course, he's not always in the Forest team. They've got Gibbs White and
keeping him out,
and Hudson-Odoi as well. Do you know what I mean? If Rashford and Garnacho played for Forest, they won't be in the team either. Do you know what I mean?
Well, in terms of, Rashford turned 27 this week. Yeah. You know, and there's an argument. I know fans, he's a popular player and that, and people will say, oh, I remember somebody on there ages ago saying that he was world class, and at that time I was like, you know, this is ages ago, he's going back to last season. I was like, he isn't, you know, and there's an argument there that he wouldn't even get into the top 4 that are in the Premier League now, and I include Nottingham Forest in that. There's an argument that he wouldn't even get in any of them teams. You know, he wouldn't get in City's, Arsenal's. I don't think he'd get in Villa. Rashford.
Yeah, no chance.
If he's
turned 27 this week, he's one of our more so-called senior players, and you look and you think of the progression of him as a player. Has he stagnated? Has he gone backwards? But massively, man.
The way he's playing now, no. The way I've seen him play in previous times, he'd be an asset. But you just don't see that player. And it's like, how long can you keep holding on to the pass for? That's where I'm at. You
just got to hope that Amorim comes in and, like you alluded to earlier, you know, gets a grip of them. There's a major sort of mental thing with these players, you know, whether it's a cultural thing or whatever it is, but the shake-up, to think that Ten Hag spent, over 600 million is absolutely mind-boggling, man. And where we are at this moment in time, we are 13th.
Absolutely staggering.
We're 13th in the league because we deserve to be there. You make your own.
Your brain can't compute how much money that is.
I cannot process it. It's over $500 million.
Even when you say the numbers, you don't really understand what it means.
It just doesn't really stack up.
I think this is the weakest Manchester United attack I've ever seen. Like that's how it feels. Genuinely. Yeah. But we'll get into it a little bit more. I think a big issue for me as well, and we'll talk about this, is the lack of technical players in our starting 11. Players that are just technically good on the ball. Ahmad's one, Eriksen's one. I think we miss them when they're not in the team. Mazraoui is one. I mean, there's just not enough of them, but we'll get into that. Connor Wilson says, I know he's new, but Zirkzee isn't good enough. Akarin says, the problem is Garnacho's lack of passing. Regan Human says, our attack plays for themselves. It's about their individual goals. Keel Robinson says, that formation is toxic. Everybody is alone. Sean Turner says, Rashford is championship level. Garnacho decision making is terrible. Rasmus takes way too long on the ball and then just gets bullied off the ball. Zirkzee is an awful footballer who can't run. He's not happy. Sean's not happy. I think you're going a bit over the top, Sean, but obviously you're entitled to
Let it out, mate.
Dylan A says, no one fears that attack. Every player would have to add 25% to their best season for us to score enough goals. Why didn't we try Osimhen on loan? Josh Corner says, Bruno's set-piece delivery is awful, always front post and always hits the wall. Garnacho needs to be benched. Thabo says, we sold all the technical ringers. Ricky and I keep telling you. Mike says, not good today, but a good point against a better side who played poorly. To me, it just proves the job Amorim has and it won't be done overnight. Suraj says, did you see Casemiro shout at Ghana? He got pissed. I mean, we'll go to the rest of the Super Chats in a second, but I do want to touch on that. Yeah. I mean, everyone's seen it. Casemiro went in on Garnacho just when I think he had the ball and Mazraoui made a great overlapping run. He tried to take on plays instead, lost it, as he's done quite a few times, to be honest. And then I don't think he tracked back as well as what Casemiro was expecting. I mean, Roy Keane said, you know, great players are the ones that hold other players accountable. We need a bit of that aggression and that leadership in the dressing room to tell players. I think it was Roy Keane-esque in my opinion, and we've been lacking that.
Yeah,
we need leaders, don't you?
Literally going to say that we need leaders in that team, and this is one thing that the new manager is going to have to really like knuckle down in early on into like his tenure. He's going to have to come in and set a precedent for everyone. I think you mentioned before on the build-up show about. I think the journalist mentioned that he doesn't like egos. He doesn't like players thinking that they're better than anybody else, or players thinking that they're more valuable than somebody else. Even if you might be earning 100k more than another player, doesn't mean anything in this team. You're based on your footballing performances and how good you are as a footballer. So he needs to set that example in from day one. Everyone needs to come into that, or everyone needs to see Amorim come into that changing room or come into Carrington and think, okay, there's no like confirmation that I'm even starting next week. I'm starting because he tells me to start, because I'm good enough to start, not because my name is whatever, or not because I used to do this 2 years ago, or I did this last season, or you're starting because the manager has told you that you're going to start because you've put in a performance that's worthy of starting. And if he doesn't do that, all he's going to get is multiple times where players like Garnacho or like a Rashford, where they might put in a bad performance, but they're the ones who are flinging. I saw it at one time where Garnacho was like flinging his arms up because someone was passing the ball, and I just thought, you're having a terrible game. You've taken the most shots out of everyone in this game, and half of them are probably our biggest chances, and you've missed, and you're complaining because someone's not giving you the ball. What did you expect? You shouldn't even be complaining. Like, first of all, you shouldn't be complaining at your own teammates anyway. You should be having a conversation with them to let them know. But to fling up your arms and act like you're having the best game of your life is ridiculous. And a manager who's got authority would never let that happen. Fergie would never let any player shout at another player for not giving them the ball, because who are you to tell them what to do? The manager does that. You know, the manager's the one who shouts at the players. You don't do that to somebody else, especially being 19 years old. You should never have that kind of ego in the team anyway. That's going to be detrimental to his career going forward if he's already got that kind of ego. So I think that's something that the manager really has to knuckle down on early on in his tenure. That, look, no one's above anybody else in this team. You have to earn that kind of respect if you want to, you know, be successful in United,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Something that needs hammering home, and I'm sure this happens at the best coached clubs.
You could have got a Ruben hammering joke in there. Hammering.
It needs hammering.
It needs hammering home.
So when you've got the ball near the corner of the penalty area, and a fullback is overlapping you, if you decide to cut across the box, if you lose that ball to a player who's facing the way they want to attack. You're in far more danger. If you lose that ball, they're on the break instantly. They're on the break. If you play the overlapping pass to the fullback, and bear in mind your fullback, when you lose it, don't forget you've got a fullback out of place. If you play that overlapping pass to the fullback who tries to get a crossing, even though there's more chance of you getting a goal, which is the main objective, of course it is, but there's also a lot more chance that you'll get a corner, or they'll just kick it straight out for a throw-in the way they're facing. So when you play that overlapping pass instead, I don't know what the percentages are. I'm sure the big clubs will have it down, but there's a far greater chance of them breaking and scoring on us if you cut inside than there is if you play the overlapping pass. So it's not just an attacking thing, it's a sensible thing, and it's a defensive-minded thing as well. You know what I mean? Forgetting the fact that it is more chance that you'll get a goal out of it if you play it that way, there's also less chance of you conceding a goal from it.
I do think partnerships have held us back as well. You know, when you think the left back, the right back swap so many times, then again further forward, how many times today did we see Rashford and Garnacho swaps? You're not really nailing down any partnerships. You know, if Luke Shaw was fit and was playing, you know, on the left-hand side, and you can get a bit of stability, and you've got two players, one that's going to track back, one that knows Luke Shaw's going to overlap, you know, crosses, whatever it's going to be, and you sit in, and maybe the fact that it gets changed kind of so much is, you know, part of the problem.
I thought we actually was looking sharper when Garnacho was on the right and Rashford was on the left. I thought Rashford and Mazraoui had a bit of a spell where they looked decent together. I don't get why he changed it, but the fact that he keeps being changed shows it isn't good enough.
It shows it's not working.
Because you wouldn't change it if it was good enough.
It's not broke, don't fix it.
You won't keep changing it. At the end of the day, Rashford or Garnacho should be on the left, Ahmad should be on the right. It's one place. It's one place. Fight it out. That's how it should be. But yeah, I mean, Ruud van Nistelrooy has come out with a quote which is very Ten Hag-esque as well. He got asked about Manchester United not scoring goals, and he said, "I'm not worried because we've created enough to win more football games and get more points. I know when things get going, these players will start to produce, like Bruno scoring 3 goals in 2 games." I mean, again, for me, I know he's got to try and give the players confidence. Does he not ring alarm bells that, you know, we've been bad in front of goal for over a year, over a season? We've been talking about it.
3 seasons.
Maybe the players just aren't good enough. Maybe it's never going to get firing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how it feels. Because how can it be this for this long?
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, Roy Keane's right, isn't he? What he said this evening. You know, the players clearly, some players think they're better than what they are, and it has to be. You know, for all these people that were staunch Ten Hag out, get this guy out my club, right? He's gone now, and I know Ruud is only an interim, and he's got a bit of a kind of free hit. You know, he's not going to be able to rip up and change that much in a short space of time, but the same issues are there. And what did Bruno say, you know, in his comments after the game, that, you know, you can't get rid of all the players, the buck stops with the manager? That's exactly what's happened. And we talk about player power and stuff like that. It's not sustainable. Now with this next manager, it needs to be stamped out. Like you say, you know, you need a manager who comes in now, authority-wise, who comes in and basically looks at all these players and says, do you want to play for this club? This is now a clean slate. You know, I'm going to be making the decisions, and that's how it has to go.
Sean M says, I'd love to hear Ricky's opinion on Lindelof giving the ball away right outside our box on the 88th minute. Also, Kev, you look well, man.
Thank you very much. I'll take that as a compliment.
Giving the ball away, I'm not so sure about that.
No,
he did.
I remember Ricky because
He played a little pass that was a little bit short, but Casemiro still got it and still got it away.
No, there was twice where he came as a DM for some reason.
Anyway,
I think someone stood up in front of you
Ugarte
because
wasn't fit, was he?
Because what happened was Ricky turned to me and he was like, "Oh, we're going to see Lindelof play midfield for 10 minutes. Let's watch him." And then he gave away the ball on the edge of the box, and it was really bad. And I think someone walked across him in that moment, so he didn't quite see it. I said, "Ricky, Lindelof just give the ball away." And then, to be fair, after that, he was pretty good, wasn't he? So.
He did all right.
I bet Ricky
He's
did
not a
his...
central midfield player, is he? He did all right.
I can imagine
he won a few headers. That's his job.
Ricky doing his arse and Wenger going, "I didn't see that." when it's players that he really likes. No, I didn't see that one.
Kia says Bruno's best was his first season at United. He's consistently gone downhill, and he's not the man to lead us to the top. You have Fraser Clark that says United need another clear out. Amorim has a hell of a job to get anything out of the junk left by Ten Hag. Zirkzee looks like a worse version of Weghorst. Siraj says, how many times did Ghana lose the ball in these matches? Shenanigan says, none of them are the main guys up top. They're all project players who should have been learning the game off the bench. Been saying it for years. We're miles off it. LJ said Hojlund would get more service if his first phase of play was better. He doesn't track the ball well enough, and his service to our wingers is just as bad as the service he gets from them. Interesting point. Shaquille Jones says the agenda on Rashford is toxic. I mean, I don't think we've really spoke that much about it. We've spoke about the whole front three. Broadmont,
I think you said Rashford was the pick of the bunch, didn't you?
I said it's not
not good enough.
It's not much
pick
to
of the
choose
bunch,
from.
yeah.
It's still not good enough for what he's for his weight. I'm sorry, for his wage and his age and his seniority at Manchester United, it's not good enough. Like Garnacho wasn't good enough either. Like I think Hojlund was okay, but still not good enough. Like I'm saying our whole forward line is not good enough.
Yeah, it's not an agenda. I was just pointing out that he's turned 27 this week, and players, I would say top players, usually you should be coming in your prime now at 27.
It's your prime.
Class 92 says, I don't get the overreaction. Looked better than we did under Ten Hag. Earned a draw. On another note, Cassie was mint again today. Nacho and Rasmus were poor. Keel Robinson says, Rash and Garnacho are obsessed with trying to play like CR7. It's a generational thing. I mean, Ricky, you did say you think we looked more compact than we did under Ten Hag.
We defended better. When they had the ball, the team shape was a lot better. And I know they're not quite as good as Liverpool, nowhere near. And I don't know about between Chelsea and Spurs. Probably not much in it. But we've got beat at home 3-0 each time we've played a top 6 team. So you've just got to accept that at least it was better than that. You know what I mean? It's the manager's come in. Do
you think the midfield too helps? That defensive kind of line in front of the defence, yeah, because...
Yeah, perhaps, but it's more about the shape, I think. I think certainly in the first half, because I had a perfect view of it in the first half, and because I was more towards that end where we were defending, and every time they've got the ball, we've got a back forward in line, we've got a midfield forward in line, they weren't too far away from the defenders, there wasn't a lot of spaces, and obviously Bruno was dropping in as well, and I noticed, I thought of this as well, much more animated on the line, Ruud. Much more animated, and he looks more like a football manager to me. He seems to be too static on the line, like not saying anything or shouting anything. But I noticed one incident where they had possession, and I don't know why he would have looked over to the manager, but Hojlund was in the centre circle. He was the furthest forward player. Everybody else was behind him, and I thought his position was okay. But he looked over at Ruud, and Ruud went like that to him, get deeper. Yeah. He was already in his own half. Yeah. So, he's more animated, and he's definitely concerned about the team shape and the people and the lads getting behind the ball. And I think that's one of the main reasons we've got a 1-1 out of it instead of a 3-0 defeat.
I was going to say, I'm not a massive fan of passion merchants, but it was so refreshing to say Van Nistelrooy more or less celebrated that goal today like he'd scored it. It was refreshing to see. because we've been so used to Ten Hag, where he's not as animated on the sideline. But players do feed off that. Like you say, you know, if Hojlund's looking over to the manager for instructions and stuff, you will do that. You know, different horses for courses, different characters, your personality, your makeup. That's one thing about Erik Ten Hag. You know, you'll know yourself. I mean, press conference wise, they're not the most you know, like entertaining things to go along to. The new manager coming in, obviously, in stark contrast, seems totally different.
I think it's a big thing in terms of getting the players motivated
full
for a
package,
game as well.
yeah.
Obviously, you should be motivated to play for Manchester United, but you do need a coach that is going to, you know, get you up for a game and instill that passion in you and instill that fire and instill that fight. But I mean, I've got a really damning stat here that I'm going to read out, and it's attacking ranks in the Premier League this season. Goals, 9 in the Premier League, that ranks at 18th. XG performance, minus 7.8 in the Premier League, that ranks at 20th.
The minus
I thought we had a
7.8.
good XG.
No, as in like we're not performing it.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean?
right. Got you. We should be scoring
Yeah.
more, yeah.
We should, but we're not.
Shot conversion, 6.4%, 19th in the Premier League. Big chance conversion, 19%, 20th in the Premier League. We're basically rock bottom of the Premier League for scoring goals, and people telling me that, you know, this player's world class, this player's going to be, you know, in Real Madrid soon, you know, our front line's amazing. And it's like, there's talented players, but we are nowhere near at it, and that is the biggest problem at Manchester United.
Not a single player in that team are getting Real Madrid's team.
There's other issues.
Not a single one.
We've conceded goals this season. Of course we have. I think we've conceded, you know, the same amount of goals as Arsenal, maybe one more today. One more today. But we've conceded goals. Onana's kept a few clean sheets. Like, you know, we have become more defensively compact, but we can't score goals to save our lives.
It's the finishing. The finishing is genuinely atrocious. Like the two chances that, I don't even want to go back to Garnacho, but those two chances, oh my! In fact, the Bruno one even more. You know what's funny? It's like when you said about like Garnacho's better when he's not thinking. You know, when he has less time to think, it's like a first time finish. That's when he's better. But when it's like he's got time to actually like control the ball and take a shot, they were both directly at the keeper.
It's like we'll score against, you know, Barnsley and Leicester's second string, and everyone's like, oh my God, we're amazing. And it's like, no, like you've got to perform at the best level weekly to then be considered, you know, the best. Yeah. And I think the standards are too low across the whole board.
You talk about missing chances. West Ham was only the other week. That's still fresh in my memory. You know, you look at the chances we missed that day again, and who are we talking about? Garnacho that day, you know, had a great chance right at the post. Yeah. They had 2 chances, didn't he?
Yeah.
You know, and then obviously Diallo takes the ball, you know, around the keeper, and he decides to put it over the bar with an open, and you're just like, is this bad luck, or is it basically that the players, are, you know, like Roy Keane says, will probably keep alluding back to this? Is it just that they're not as good as what a lot of people have kind of hyped them up to be?
Should be doing better.
I mean, let's talk, like, when we'll finish off the forward line talk, we'll talk about Hojlund and Zirkzee. I mean, first of all, Ricky, thoughts on Hojlund's performance, getting very mixed reviews?
Yeah, I bet he is. It was a struggle. It's a proper struggle. He's
always going to be a tough game, isn't it?
He's a big, strong lad. I don't want to criticise him too.
I don't think he's that
too
bad.
difficult. It was a proper hard game for him. But did he have a particularly good game? I'd have to say no, really.
Do you think in a good team he'd score goals? Because he has shown that
Depends
he can
how
do
good
it.
the team is, really. You know what I mean? If he was playing for City, he'd get a few goals, obviously.
If you threw him in at somewhere, let's say, like an Aston Villa, or a Tottenham,
perhaps, I don't know. Perhaps not.
Tottenham.
I mean, look, he's doing. Look, he works his socks off, but you're throwing these other teams up. I mean, is he as good as Solanke for Spurs? Is he as good as Watkins? Do you know what I mean? They've, you know, he's probably below that level.
I'm just saying,
I'm desperate for him to do
and a
better.
team that's set up
Absolutely
and uses him,
desperate.
which I think he should be the focal point of that team. But for some, again, it comes down to wingers, doesn't it? How many times? And he seems to be in the right areas. He's pointing, he wants the ball, but you know, he just cuts a frustrated figure so much.
I don't think he was that bad today. I was watching it, and he was getting fouled a lot today.
He got the pen, didn't he?
He got the penalty. It was a good touch. I was thinking, he's got. I was surprised the ball even made it to him in the first place, because Casemiro played a pass and it just went over maybe Fofana's head or somebody's head. and he's taken a touch. I was thinking, first time, come on, first time. And he's gone around the keeper and he's obviously got the penalty. So I thought that was good from him. But he was holding the ball up a lot. And I mentioned it on the build-up show. I feel like he is getting a lot stronger because he was getting dragged to the floor. He literally had to get dragged to the floor a lot of the times when the ball got to him. And it's hard to even do anything from that position. And he's still only 2021. Like, to even have you back to one of the defenders, bring the ball down and then play it out is difficult to do. It's a difficult thing to do. So he has improved a lot in that, I think. And I think his finishing in general, I think is good. I don't actually think he's a terrible finisher. The one chance that he did have was that kind of like that volley that he had. It was like a snapshot, that volley. I can't remember what the play was, but...
The ref had blown the whistle, I think. Is that the one?
I think so. It was a save. Sanchez saved it. But that was really the only chance that I can say he had a shot on goal. That it was all right. But yeah, I think what he is doing, I can see improvements, and that's the best thing. I can see improvements in his game. Nowhere near the finished article. And
a lot of potential.
And if Ruben Amorim wants a finished article, he's gonna have to go and buy someone. That's the reality. And there's not Zirkzee.
I think Hojlund has improved in terms of his hold-up play. I thought the ref did him no favours today. I thought there was multiple fouls that he didn't blow for. He was
a clown.
I can't wait to see it again.
The Chelsea defenders were very, very rough on him, but that's going to happen in the Premier League. You've got to deal with that, and everyone gets that treatment. So. But I thought he handled it decently well. He's getting hold of the ball a bit better. The issue is for me is he's not making the right decisions in terms of passing it off quick enough. Like, you should have passed it off way quicker.
There's one to go, that's why he could have passed it quicker.
I just think sometimes he's a little bit slow when thinking about his next move once he's got the ball. That needs to improve. But like you said, he's not getting any chances. He barely gets any chances. And the one little chance he had, he did end up winning a penalty. It probably was from a bit of a bad touch, but you take that.
Yeah.
But then when you look at the options you've got, for me, I've said it so much. I don't think Zirkzee's been anywhere near good enough, and I genuinely do worry about him. And I know it's only a little bit of time, but I genuinely do worry about him. But the scapegoating I'm seeing of Zirkzee, it's like he played the last 10 minutes. We were poor in front of goal for the last 80 minutes. So it's not his fault. It's just. You just think that money that we spent on him in the summer was redundant and could have gone on somebody else because he's just not offering anything, is he, Kev?
How many times can we say this about different players in this team? I am literally sat here again, and when I keep thinking of this figure of 600 and whatever million it is, that has been spent to start assembling this squad under the Ten Hag era, it absolutely blows my mind. And to think so much money's been spent on players that you'd probably assume that when the new manager comes in will not fancy them one bit. Will he get a tune out of Anthony, who's up near 80, 90 million we've spent on him? We're never ever getting anywhere near that, back for him. And Mason Mount, where does he fit in? 50 million, and it just goes on and on and on. And we were talking before, Ricky, weren't we? We were saying, basically, the best signings that Ten Hag has made, they've either been a free transfer or you look at a performance from Mazraoui today. He was absolutely sensational, and out of them, for paying, what was it, 13 million for him?
About 12, 13,
looks like such good business. But you could have done that with, instead of investing all this money so heavily. And Zirkzee's another one. I'm not writing him off totally yet, but I am concerned about him. I do look and I think, for the Premier League, I know there was a few things said that, pace-wise, he's not going to have it, but looks a little bit clumsy. But again, I'm not going to write him off. He could come good, but again, it's just hopes and dreams, isn't it? It's a bit like United.
What are you clinging on to?
It's like United under Ten Hag last season. 2.5 years. I've turned up here every week, for a United game, hoping that this is the week where Ten Hag ball kicks in, and it just never happened.
It's like going watching your kid on football every week and being like, you might be better this week.
Yeah, no, it's rubbish.
I'll be honest, Zirkzee, I've actually been trying to give him a chance every single week because he's a sub in it, and it's like he's only getting little scrappy minutes sometimes.
He can't skip going 10 minutes today.
No, you can't.
I'm not doing that.
I've been trying to give him the benefit of the doubt because I thought, what. There was that one Crystal Palace game where he had a good first half and he got brought off, and I thought, you know what? I've seen signs. I remember that first half. He can definitely do that again. When he has a ball, it looks funny. It looks like he doesn't know what to do when the ball's at his feet sometimes. Even that chance where I can't remember who played it in
It's like he's
behind.
played in slow motion. I
Yeah,
think.
someone played it in behind and he's running towards goal, and I just thought, there's nothing's gonna happen from this. Like he's running like he's running like a tractor. Like he's just so slow. Like when he tries to cut in, like the ball's just bouncing all around the place. It's like a bad Lukaku. Like it's like there's nothing's really happening. But yeah,
I did say weeks ago when I obviously I had a few people messaging me, but I just said Zirkzee at the minute kind of reminds me of what was it, a giraffe in roller skates, like wearing a Fellaini wig, and that's I can't unsee it anymore now. I'm probably doing a disjustice. I was going to say he reminds me a little bit of Fellaini, but I think I'm doing a huge injustice to the great man Marouane Fellaini for even mentioning Zirkzee in the same sentence, because
It's a top player, Fellaini.
Oh, you would have loved him.
I loved him, Fellaini.
Yeah.
See, for me, it's like he's playing with like massive ankle weights on.
Like Timberlands.
You know what I mean?
Leave him alone now.
Anyway,
Leave him alone now.
you
After that.
can, but I just want to bring in quickly this interesting comment from Leon Football.
Go on.
He said, Hojlund doesn't get many chances, yet Zirkzee is getting quite a lot, and people are complaining about his finishing because he's getting more chances. It's obviously something Hojlund is doing wrong, which contributes to why he's getting less than Zirkzee in more minutes.
No,
That's what he's getting less chances than Zirkzee. Is that what he's saying?
That's what he's saying.
Is
Like,
that a
because
fact?
it feels
Or is
like,
that just an opinion?
and you'd have to look into it, but it does feel like a lot of people are, oh, Zirkzee's missed that chance, where it's like, with Hojlund, like, you feel like he gets no chance. I just thought it was an interesting comment.
A lot of I'd say chances, Hojlund seems to have to create them himself, doesn't he? You know, he gets very little service, but a goal that he might score, it might be a quick turn on the edge of the box, a bit of a snapshot. He always seems to have to create his own kind of chances, because I think we know these wingers have, for whatever reason, he becomes like the invisible man in the box. Like whenever they don't get the heads up, they don't look for him. I don't know what it is.
He scored in his debut. I don't think he'd score that goal ever again.
But there you go about
Confidence
hyping
levels
players
as well.
up.
I don't know how. Like I look back at that goal and I think that was an amazing goal. He could not do that again.
Ricky.
I've got a message that someone sent me that I think is worth discussing, and I've got a bit that I'd like to add to it after I've read it. But it says we've got to stop defending the young players. There's obviously talent there, or he's still young. Either you're good enough or you're not good enough. It's as simple as that. Now, that might seem harsh, but I remember the days when players who used to come into the team at 17, 18, 19, the likes of Beckham, Giggs, Scholes, and you knew they were good enough straight away. Nobody had to say, oh, they're going to be good enough.
Yeah.
They won the league the first year they all played together, didn't they?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not suggesting that we should win the league, but surely players shouldn't be coming into the team until they're good enough. We've just made a mess of it over the years, getting rid of players who and bringing players in who are, whether we're signing them or whether we're bringing them through the ranks and pinning our hopes on them. Because, you know, let's be honest, we're very, very unlikely with these set of forwards to ever challenge for the league, and yet we have done it before with young kids playing in the team.
So Matt Busby said, didn't he? You know, if you're good enough, you're old enough, and it is as simple as that. And you have to look at some of these players and think, you know, right, they might be old enough, but they don't seem to be good enough.
Wayne Rooney's just like...
I was going to mention Rooney in that.
Massive.
Rooney was a freak of nature, but
yeah,
he was. When you think he scored that goal against what was it, Arsenal?
Yeah,
you know,
Everton.
How old was he then? He was 16.
16.
And
16, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
He was just literally like a man trapped in a boy's body, wasn't he, Rooney? He was playing against a very good Arsenal team, and to see what he did, you know, you think of his debut, Galatasaray here, you know, scores a hat-trick on his debut, and you were just like, you know, them players don't come around often, but by God, I'd love to have a Wayne Rooney in my team and in this current team. And you talk about leaders earlier. You know, at least he was somebody that would have, you know, if Garnacho, Rashford, or whoever wasn't pulling the weight, he'd be the first to be setting standards on that pitch and say, you know, rein it in, man.
Yeah.
Best English player I've ever seen.
Yeah. He was quality.
Anyway, let's talk
Went
about
a bit off topic there,
let's
didn't
talk
we?
about the players we currently have. I mean, what was I coming to next? Oh yeah, Ugarte, Casemiro partnership today. I mean, Mords, we'll go to you because, you know, you spoke about him, you know, giving away quite a few fouls in the Bardsley game.
Yeah.
Then Fenerbahce had a good game against Leicester. He had a really good game. What did you make of his performance today?
No, I still like him. I don't think today kind of changed my opinion on him. I still think he is. Look, I think the last forum, I remember you were speaking about Ruben Amorim's midfield too, and that he's only got 2 real midfielders that he's going to play. And I said, look, it's not about who the best players are, it's about who has the best partnership. And I think him and Casemiro did have a good partnership. Really and truly, I think the better midfielder today was Casemiro. I think there was a lot of challenges that he put in today, which were like, I was thinking, thank you that we have Casemiro in this team, because he's the only player that would risk a challenge like that. You know, like some players, they wouldn't even risk it. They wouldn't risk sliding in, like in the box.
He made a couple of great challenges.
Great challenges to save us. He was the kind of standout midfielder today. Well, maybe you could say Bruno in the second half, and he obviously got a goal, but Casemiro in general was probably the standout midfielder. And I think Ugarte, the only problem that I see with Ugarte is, and this was a problem in his first game against Barnsley in the first half, is when he starts getting a couple of fouls, he doesn't, like, he's a bit too reckless at times. I think he got a yellow card pretty early on in the game as well, and it was like, he's on the edge a few times. And I think that's probably why he got taken off as well, actually.
Yeah, he did.
Because he's in a lot of foul trouble. When he does get in foul trouble, it's like, you don't even want him to be on the pitch anymore, because it's like one
It's
wrong...
like when we had Fred.
Yeah, it's like one wrong move and he's got you'll get a red card, and that's the last thing you want. I mean, Casemiro can get a red card at any time, at any moment. So, my opinion's not really changed. I still think he's a good player, and I think he's definitely developing on the team as well.
I think the fact we were playing more compact again helped Casemiro to shine more, and I agree with you. I think he was probably our best midfielder. I thought Bruno in the second half came to life, but Casemiro over the course of the whole game had another really good performance, and I think it was due to the fact we were a bit more compact, like Ricky said in the first half of the show. I mean, let's talk about some positives, and I think Mazraoui is a massive positive. I mean, today, fantastic. Again, technically good on the ball, makes good decisions. I mean, he probably just does the basics, right? But when you do that in a team full of players that don't, you stand out as being one of the better players, and you're gonna earn credit through that. I just think calm, composed, can be aggressive when needs to be, intelligent footballer, technically good. I mean, that is what you call a bargain at 12, 13 million, isn't it, Kev, like you said before?
Oh, easily. I think without giving away the man of the match, I thought he was head and shoulders above every single player on that pitch today. Like you say, getting forward, defending. And yeah, I'll go back to what I said earlier. You know, the price tag that Ten Hag paid for him at the time, it looks a good bit of business. In fact, the De Ligt and Mazraoui, because it was done as a kind of double deal, it looks really good business, because I think De Ligt's starting to grow into that role. We talk about leaders at this club. I think De Ligt is definitely one of them players. Some great blocks today. Defensively really good, and I think it was testament to the defence. The midfield, everything. Cole Palmer kept very quiet today. Yeah. And that again, that comes down to the team. I'm sure there was a kind of game plan to try and nullify that kind of threat, and yeah, happy with that. He
also was a threat going forward as well, Mordzs, as well being sound defensively. I thought going forward he helped out a lot. Didn't really get helped out much by Garnacho in the second half, because he didn't really pass to him, but he works the line really well, doesn't he, in terms of providing that attacking threat as well as being defensively solid.
Yeah, and I think it's good, because now that we know exactly what Ruben Amorim is going to be doing in terms of the wing backs, it's kind of like he's showing a little bit of what he can do if he was to play in that wing back position, because he's not going to play as a left-sided centre back. We already know that. So the likelihood is he's probably going to be in that wing back position, and we know that with Amorim, those wing backs, they are more wingers than fullbacks, if that makes sense. They push really high. So, I mean, I do want to see a little bit more in terms of like his crossing ability and stuff like that. We don't see that a lot. I know, like when we used to have Shaw anyway, I don't know if he still plays for us, but when we used to have Shaw, he was very good at crossing the ball from that side. And him and Rashford had a good link-up play in terms of like getting up and down the line and making them overlapping runs. So I do want to see maybe a little bit more of that, but he is definitely showing that he's capable of playing in that position, that left wing back position.
Here's an interesting one. When Amorim does come in, do you think he plays both Mazraoui and Diallo as the wing backs, or do you think only one of them will play? And who would you go for at this moment in time?
I think both of them. Who else would play in that position?
Yeah, well, I'm going to say on current form, Mazraoui is by far the best, shall we call, full back at the club. On current form, without a shadow of a doubt, I'd have him over. I think he's performing better than Diallo, easily. But it is a great shout. And we talk about business. That was a great bit of business in theory to sell Wan-Bissaka for the fee than it was to West Ham. That's more we recouped, you know, than what we paid for Mazraoui. So it's very rare that United do good business in, you know, current kind of years. But when you weigh up that one as a transaction and you think we've let Wan-Bissaka go, and we've actually got now a player that's an all-rounded better fullback, because he's the full package. He looks just as happy attacking as he is kind of defending, whereas Wan-Bissaka was defensively, he was sound, you know, had some really, really good games, some, you know, like against the likes of Mbappe and that, he had some really good games, but his issue was, it was getting forward, wasn't it? You know, when he got in that final third, we missed something on that side, and it did tend to break down and stop with Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah, Wan-Bissaka would be so redundant in this new Hammering system.
He'd be nowhere near this team now. With the way that Mazraoui's playing, he's...
I mean, Ricky, I know you're a big fan of Diallo. I mean, do you think shouldn't they both play, or if you had to pick one, which one do you think the manager will go for?
Obviously, he's coming into the Premier League, and you know, I don't like belittling other leagues. You know, it's not one of the big 5 European leagues, is it? I'm not sure where it's ranked on the league rankings, but generally there's 3 or 4 big clubs there in Portugal. I think if he comes into the Premier League, I think he might pick fullbacks as his wing backs to start with, and I think they both might start just while he gets a foothold in the club, and then also, you know, in the league, within the games, so he gets a foothold in the game and doesn't start falling behind by your wingers not tracking back enough. I think he'll start with both Diallo and Mazraoui to start with, and then as it gets, you know, if he starts doing well, he might swap one of them for a winger.
You want to build from the back, really, don't you? Get that defensive base. And
They will have licence to get forward. Obviously, I'm not saying he'll play with the back 5. I think he'll expect them to get really high, but they've got a natural defensive nous to get back quickly. Do you understand what I mean? And the wingers haven't really.
Yeah. But if he is going to go with this 3, which more long term it could be Martinez, De Ligt and Yoro, you know, you look at that and you think, wow, you know, but you are asking a lot then of your fullbacks, because if he is going to play this system, they're going to have to be equally as good getting forward as they are getting back. But you have got that kind of defensive blanket then, where you've got 3 top-class sort of centre-halves playing at the back.
Just touching on the defence a little bit, pretty solid today, everyone can agree?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think Martinez had some good challenges in there as well.
And one dirty one as well, where he was very lucky to stay.
Yeah, that one was a bit lucky too.
Was it, really?
Yeah. I look back on it, it is worse than Bruno's, and Bruno got a red card.
Well,
so.
I was saying sometimes refs like subconsciously even it up, and I think because everyone knew that Bruno one wasn't really red, like that probably put us in favour in terms of that Martinez one not being one. So
he got lucky.
Well, you think he got away with one? Was it Crystal Palace Martinez? Remember that sort of double stamp where we were all what is he doing? You know,
you've got to be careful because you don't want to get that. You don't want to get that reputation in the ref's head, because then you're more prone to having them decisions go against you. De Ligt, I think, has gone under the radar as being really solid recently. Yeah. Solid defender. So happy with him. And another person I wanted to shout out is Andre Onana. Didn't have much to do today, but what he did have to do, very, very solid.
Yeah, didn't really do a lot.
I think, I was going to say it's testament to the fact that he was a hot topic on here at a time, but it was obviously at a time when we were being critical. People were getting in on you in the comment section saying bring back De Gea and all that, but
still
you know,
it's tagged by stuff on Twitter.
Yeah, the fact that we're quiet on that front, you know, credit where credit's due, isn't it? If he plays well.
Apart from his one pass that nearly led to a goal.
Well, that was a bit of a dodgy one to Casemiro because.
But to be fair, I did see Casemiro keep asking for it, and I'm like, you've got 2 players on you.
The thing is, from Onana's perspective there, he's got a better view of in front of him what's going on, and you can see 2 players either side of Casemiro. If Casemiro's asking for it and he's not done the double up, then that's up to Onana really in that split second to go, I'm not putting you in trouble, but for some reason he just went, go on then, you can have it. And we got away with it.
One other thing I don't understand which keeps happening, and it must be the game plan because he keeps doing it. I tried asking him about it actually in Fenerbahce, and he kind of just said, you know, the options he takes when he's on the ball is what's available. He wants to play it short, but if there's no one available, then he has to go long. But what I noticed today, and we've been doing it in quite a few games, he'll look for that long ball to either Garnacho or Rashford on the wings in hopes that they're going to get in behind. It never comes off. Barely. And sometimes it's like 1 in 20, if that even, it comes off. But you look at Garnacho against Reece James, I don't think he won a single header. I mean, Rashford's not great aerially either. It's like, why do we keep trying stuff that's like 1 in 20 chance of it even coming off? Like, better decisions like that, which I'm sure the new coach hopefully will install into the team.
Whilst we're giving out praise, the Casemiro pass for Hojlund for the penalty.
Oh, fantastic.
Wow. Very nice.
Is that magic moment?
Oh, yes, it has to be. Are we in at Beth's magic moment already?
We are. I was up. Can you believe it?
Wow.
Super chats coming in, so I'll read them out. Subra Tim says, what about a change in captaincy when Amorim comes in? Need a proper leader on the field. This has been missing since a long time. Don't see proper leadership in that team. I don't think the captaincy will change. And I think Bruno is a captain. I know his performances haven't been good enough. I think he's a captain. Other people might disagree. That's fine. Alex Dreyer says, what about Martinez? He deserves some praise as well. We just did. Class 92 says, are you guys ready to admit you were wrong about Casemiro and it was just Erik ten Hag's tactics that was the issue? Cassie is a class midfielder and easily our best midfielder. He's been better the last 2 games, but I think you need a longer period to judge it.
One of them games was against Leicester's B team, if you want to be really highly critical. But today, in terms of Chelsea and where we are at this moment, where are we, 13th?
The one thing I would say though is I think a lot of people at the time, obviously the way some of the Casemiro performance was dreadful, but I think a lot of people can look back and think that midfield setup was massively exposing him.
Oh yeah.
100%.
You guys, definitely. There's a nice blend between them two.
Shenanigans says, Fabio Capello says last week said Zirkzee doesn't look like the player he did in Italy because he gets no time on the ball and the Prem will have to adapt. Well, maybe that'll be the case. K-Man says Garnacho will play for Las Palmas in 2 years, not Madrid. John Eastwood, thank you for your membership. Thank you for your super chat. Keel Robinson says Rabiot and Amrabat were no-brainers. Still holding on to that one, Keel. He's been going on about that for ages now. RRJ says, how many times are we going to clear out the deadwood before we realise the deadwood are Bruno, Rashford and Garnacho? Class 92 says Rashford has been much better than Garnacho. Ahmad should start. Rookie the Explorer says performances like today should help the board realise the players are not up to it and a clear out is needed to back our new manager. The K-Stone says Ghana will end up like Rashford, overexposure and burnout. They feel like they have made it too early, get bumper contracts and forget they have a lot to learn. Anthony was never this bad despite criticism. Class 92 says, I don't get the overreaction, look better than we did under Ten Hag, earned a draw. On another note, Casemiro was mint again today. Nacho and Rasmus were poor. Thank you everybody for all the super chats, all the comments. We really do appreciate the love and support on the forum. Therapy forum kind of. I mean, a few weeks ago under Ten Hag, you would have thought this would probably be a loss. But today, even though we've got a point, we do feel like we could have got more out of it. If Amorim's watching, what do you think's one word he would be thinking to sum up that performance, Kev?
Shit. About the performance?
Yeah.
I thought you meant what will he be thinking, like watching, thinking I'm getting the job. I was like, shit. Yeah. About that performance?
I think he'd be like that. Wow.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you need 3.
Uphill mountain. Is what I would say. I mean, let's do our man of the match quickly, wrap things up. I wonder if we'll get a clean sweep today.
It should be, unless Ricky lets us down.
I'll go with Diallo. I thought he did really well against Neto.
Did you just say it should be a clean sheet and then you've
I know
a clean
what
sweep
you mean.
and then
You mean the other fullback, don't you? I thought Diallo played well enough.
I do think Diallo was good, but it's the way you said, I think it'll be a clean sweep. Diallo,
it goes for Diallo.
Yeah.
So we've all got to go for Diallo.
No, that's what I meant. I'm not giving it you. It would have been a clean sweep.
Oh, God, Ricky.
I'm surprised he didn't give it Lindelof his 10.
Mazraoui, it has to be. Sorry, 100%.
Or Casemiro.
Yeah, I think I was between Casemiro and Mazraoui, but I think I'll go with Mazraoui.
Yeah.
And Ricky's going with Diallo. Nothing against Diallo. I thought Neto's a tough guy to defend. I thought he did well, but I just think Mazraoui stood out a bit higher than the rest. But get in the comments down below. Do you agree with Ricky with the Diallo shout, or do you agree with us with the Mazraoui shout? Let us know in the comments. Hit a like on the video. What do you expect from Ruben Amorim when he comes in? One more Europa League game for Ruud, and also one more Premier League game. You've got the Europa League game midweek, and then you've got the Leicester game at the weekend. Yeah, could still go unbeaten, but he's not going to have 4 out of 4 wins now. Let's see what happens, but waiting for Ruben to come in, Ruben Amorim. Hopefully he can get these players firing. We hope and pray. That's all we can do. Look, everyone, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Ricky, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mordzs, thank you.
Sorry,
First, yeah, got that chance.
got me the wrong time. Yeah, thanks.
Mods, not mods.
Well,
Kev.
thank you very much. Enjoyed that as always. Good
And
input.
thank you to you guys for watching. Hit a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Enjoy the rest of your night, and we will see you on the next one.